Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 10 4 key game picks. Before we get into week number 10, it's going to be quick thoughts from week number 9, and I must say that the theme for week number 9 was upset. Because teams like the Bills, the Raiders, the Rams, and unexpectedly teams that actually I pretty thought that they had their games won. Well, obviously the Rams, because I did talk about the Rams last week. I kind of figured they would get into some sort of a football game, but I didn't expect that the Rams would get blown out by the Titans. Now, there's a lot of things to consider what happened last week because it was a big upset for the Bills. I mean, losing to Urban Meyer with all the issues that the Jaguars are having, that has got to be humiliating, to the fact that, you know, they only mustered up 6 points, and the fact that somehow you made the Jaguars look like a Super Bowl contender team, the way that the Jaguars played. I'm still dumbfounded by that loss. At the same time, too, I was actually surprised the Giants were able to beat the Raiders when it looked like the Raiders had everything in hand, and it should have been a game that the Raiders should have won pretty handily, but they actually got into a competitive game with the Giants. And it's also beginning to muster up some questions right now. What's going on with the Raiders themselves? And obviously, I think the bigger story going into the games on Sunday was definitely the fact that the Rams really did not look like themselves. Matthew Stafford really was put to the ground. Tennessee's defense, give them a ton of credit. They really took it to the Rams on Sunday night, and it really was quite a shocker. For those that considered that every pundit, every NFL analyst has said that the Rams with Matthew Stafford would be considered a Super Bowl contender, but it appears to me like the Rams they got to fix a lot of issues going into their next game against the 49ers. Otherwise, if they lose to the Niners, they're in big time trouble. And they got to figure things out immediately. Now, obviously, the big story that came out before all the games were playing on Sunday, obviously, it was Aaron Rodgers and COVID. Now, I'm not going to get into a debate or any discussion about how I personally feel. I mean, I personally feel that, you know, Aaron Rodgers did lie. It was pretty obvious, and he did not, I think it was pretty obvious. Even the NFL knew that he was not vaccinated. I mean, like I said, it's a different debate and all that. I don't want to get into this discussion right now because, obviously, because of the political landscape that we're going through in our country right now, it's really getting worse. But that's a whole nother topic, and I will not get into that kind of discussion. But obviously, it did affect the Green Bay Packers dramatically against the Chiefs, when the Chiefs didn't look like they played good at all. I mean, it was a low-scoring game. I mean, the Chiefs only mustered up 13 points to the Packers 7. And look, I mean, give Jordan Love some love, and let me tell you why. He actually played pretty decently against a Chiefs team that really is really not the same Chiefs team that we've known and seen over the last 3 seasons. So really right now, you got to wonder, look, you could say what you want about Love, but I really think he is the quarterback that's definitely going to be next in line to take over once Rodgers is done in Green Bay. Because really, who else is Green Bay gonna draft? I mean, I thought that Jordan Love played decently, and he obviously needs a lot more practice to get behind center. And there's going to be a lot of questions right now if Rodgers can provide negative COVID tests along the line for Sunday as they're hosting the Seattle Seahawks. Anyways, let's talk about week number 10. Looking at the schedule, it was kind of hard to pick out 4 key games or good games that I considered, in my opinion, that might be good games. So bear with me. This is probably not going to be my best video on discussing the 4 key games for this week, because really right now, look, let me just talk about these games, and I'll let you guys be the judge of it. Now, let's begin with key game number 1, and that is the New Orleans Saints versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans are a 3-point favorite in this one here, and it wouldn't surprise me if that number goes even higher, because really right now, the problem with the Saints and what they're dealing with right now is who is going to be the quarterback. Now, Trevor Siemian was the quarterback last week for the majority of the game. He's splitting the duties with Taysom Hill. Now, obviously, I don't know if there'll be a mini quarterback controversy going forward for Sean Payton and that offense. But it's really going to be something to keep in mind for that Saints offense, because really right now this is a weird football team that we don't know if they're contenders or pretenders sometimes. It's really hard to judge. Now, Simeon went 25 of 41, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, Taysom Hill only had 2 plays. He was 2 for 2 in passes, 33 yards, and no touchdowns or interceptions at all. Now, Ryan Tannehill in a big win over the Rams last week, 19 of 27, 143 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Obviously, the defense was more of the bigger role they had last week in beating the Rams more than the offense. Now, when I look in this football game here, I would say the pundits might be right at 3 points. I think this will be a back and forth game. It wouldn't surprise me because the way, look, Ingram and Kamar have got to be the key factors in that Saints offense here more than just the quarterbacks. And really, if mustering in that offense here along with Kamar and Ingram, I think to me the Titans might get into an actual football game here with the Saints. Now, even though obviously the quarterback issue is still going to be the number one concern right now for Sean Payton, but I look at it this way. No, look, Tennessee had. Look, even though the running game was pretty average last week, and obviously it's going to be a key factor here in order to not have Tannehill force any throws. I consider this game to go back and forth. I think this is not going to be a blowout like the Rams last week. I think it's going to be a much more competitive game than what the Titans I think are going to anticipate. So it's really going to determine right now which offense provides more points. I think it's going to go back and forth. This is going to be a very close game, I think. But I'm going to pick the Tennessee Titans. I just think their offense is just a little bit better. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, as long as he stays healthy, they have somewhat of a stable quarterback in center. I really think that the Titans will barely beat the Saints here. I expect this game to be very, very close. I think it'll definitely be 3 points for sure. So yeah, I'm going to pick the Titans in this one here. I think the Titans will beat the Saints. It's going to be a close game, obviously, because this quarterback issues that the Saints are dealing with right now, I think is going to really affect their offense here, and that's one of the reasons why I'm going to go with the Titans here. I think the Titans will beat the Saints here. Titans over the Saints. Key game number 2. It is the Seattle Seahawks versus the Green Bay Packers. I'm not going to get into quarterback stats or anything right now because I really don't know, as at the time of this video, who's going to be starting quarterbacks for both these two teams. Now, from the latest words here, it still might be a possibility that Russell Wilson is still questionable to start Sunday against the Packers. Either that, you'll have to go with Geno Smith. And another question comes to mind right now. Will Aaron Rodgers provide enough negative COVID tests to be allowed back into the Green Bay facility? Now remember, they already fined the team as well as Aaron Rodgers and some players that also tested for COVID. So right now, I'm not going to provide any quarterback stats or anything right now. Now look, the current line's really every odds maker has the Packers right now as a 3.5 point favorite. It could go lower if that's determining if Jordan Love will start again for the Packers. But you have to take this with a grain of salt here because I think this will be a pretty good game. Assuming that Russell Wilson comes back for the Seahawks and Aaron Rodgers comes back for the Packers. I will just go with just a very quick opinion on this game here. Green Bay's offense is much better than the Seahawks. The Seahawks are having trouble protecting the quarterback. Geno Smith, in these last few games, he's been sacked a lot. Even before Russell Wilson got hurt, he couldn't even stay off the ground. Their offensive line couldn't even protect Russell Wilson either. So really right now, when you look at it right now, determining on the quarterbacks for both these two teams, if you look at the rest of the offense for both these two teams, look, the Packers have the edge with Adams and Jones. I mean, really, that's what I'm going to base my opinion on, and that's why I'm picking the Green Bay Packers in this game. I think the Packers will get a victory here against the Seahawks here. And like I said, this is one of these games, I thought about it. I mean, thought about, talking about maybe going Vikings Chargers a little bit here, but this is a game. I mean, I try to be as fair as I can be when I try to talk about key games or football games that I think are going to be good. So when I'm going to base this game mostly because of Green, even without Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you look at Jones and you look at Devontae Adams. I mean, their offense is just more complete than the Seahawks. Seahawks defense is not that good at all. They were lucky enough to pounce on the Jaguars before their bye week. But when it comes to this Green Bay offense, there's no way this Seattle defense is going to stop them here. And yeah, I'm picking the Packers here. Their offense is much better than the Seahawks here, and quarterbacks is going to be determined by game time what's going to happen here. So don't be surprised if that line's either go up or maybe a little bit down depending on what happens the rest of the way. And especially at the time of this video, I don't know if Wilson will start as well as Rodgers. So you have to take that with a grain of salt and caution. So you have to really keep in mind, keep up to date in NFL news and anything like that on who's going to be the quarterback for both these two teams. So I'm picking the Packers here, Packers over the Seahawks. Key game number 3, it is the Cleveland Browns versus the New England Patriots. Patriots are 1.5 point favorite in this one here. And that I would say that it's just about right. The Patriots are starting to get on a groove. They're starting to look like a contender somewhat. Now this is going to be one of their toughest games, I think, because the way the Browns played last week and the way Mayfield played, going 14 of 21, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, despite the fact it's going to come now at a halt because Nick Chubb now is going to be out because of COVID. So obviously now that hurts the Browns offense quite a bit. So now you look at Jones for the Patriots, 12 of 18, 139 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception here. I'm going to base this on the fact that I think that without a running game for the Browns, the Patriots are probably going to win are probably going to win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a close game. I don't expect this game to be a blowout, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the Patriots do win this game here. It's a tough pick, and really when it looked like the Browns were getting on the groove and then you got COVID going around again for the franchise, I mean, this is really, really hard, very difficult for Baker Mayfield. He's going to have to be forcing passes if they don't have some sort of a running game here. I'm going to base the fact that, the Patriots right now, they're on a roll, and I think to me, especially, Bill Belichick's had a good record against the Browns, even for a very, very long time. I mean, he hasn't lost to Cleveland in probably at the time he's been coaching the Pats for a long time. So, yeah, he has never lost to the Browns. So I don't see it's hard for me to see if the Browns were healthy. All of them, if everybody was healthy on the Browns, they could have a good chance of whooping the Pats here, but I just don't see it happening without a running game. Now the Chubb is out, so that definitely hurts the Browns' running game quite a bit. So yeah, I'm going to pick the New England Patriots here. I just think that their offense is a little bit more better intact than the Browns are right now, obviously for health reasons, and that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with the Pats here. I think it'll be a close game, but I think the Pats will beat the Browns here. Patriots over the Browns. The Pats will beat the Browns for sure. And finally, key game number 4, it is the Chiefs versus the Raiders. This is a big game for both these two teams because obviously it will be, I would consider this the loser of this game will probably end up being in last place. Now, Mahomes went 20 of 37, 166 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, in somewhat of a not much of a good performance against the Packers last week. Now Derek Carr last week for the Raiders, 30 of 46, 296 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions. Obviously, for Derek Carr, there is some big time question marks whether or not Derek Carr is that good anymore. Now, in this division, look, this is really going to come down to which offense will perform very, very good. Because both these two offenses last week weren't, especially the Chiefs, did not play all that well. Raiders defense was actually a bigger issue against the Giants when really they had trouble stopping the Giants all game long. And they had it in a game that I personally thought that the Raiders should have whooped the Giants, but they didn't. And I guarantee you they're going to be in a very competitive game against the Chiefs. I think, other than the Packers, I would think now this would be maybe the Chiefs' biggest test coming up. In order to prove themselves, they're still somewhat of a contender. The Chiefs are 2.5 point favorite, and I would say that number will probably go to 1.5, probably by kickoff, because there's a lot of questions going on with that Chiefs offense. Their defense played much better than they did in the probably in a long time, but this is the game now is going to determine which offense performs better, because both the Raiders and the Chiefs defense aren't that good. And I really think this will be a back and forth game for sure. This will definitely be a close game here. But the way, if the Raiders are giving up points and having trouble stopping the pass and stopping passes at all, I mean, I could spell trouble for the Raiders in this game, because the Chiefs have been known to, they're always throwing into the air. The passing game is a bit better. Obviously, the running game is an issue for the Chiefs right now, and their defense is going to have to really play a lot better. I think it's going to be a shootout in this game. I think this will be I think it's going to be a good Sunday night game. I think it's going to go back and forth here. But this game's a toss-up. It's hard to say who wins this one here, but I'm going to pick the Chiefs here. I think the Chiefs, they know that obviously the loser of this game will probably be in last place for sure. And I think the Chiefs, you can't count out Patrick Mahomes and what they've been able to do. And that is why I'm picking the Chiefs here. I think this will be a very close game. Should be a good one, but I'm going to pick the Chiefs here. I think Patrick Mahomes still has something to prove here, especially the fact, obviously the games he had against the Raiders last year, it really fired him up. And I'm picking the Chiefs here to beat the Raiders here. Chiefs over the Raiders. All right, everybody, that wraps up my 4 key game picks for week number 10. For all my week 10 picks, please check the description below, and I'll see you guys next week when I talk about my picks for week number 11. Take care and enjoy your football weekend.